Buddy, I think I'm about a minute or two early with this live stream, but I was ready. I couldn't wait. So thank you for anybody who are gonna join this one. I know that people are kind of like gonna trickle in here. It is Tuesday. It is March 7th, 2 p.m. Eastern, well, Batavian or Buffalo, New York, where I live. Yeah, so just want to throw in a quick live stream here, and I'm actually gonna try to do another one this later this week. This is definitely not to replace the content that I normally throw out on the channel here, but the fact is that I've been busy. So last week, I got to go to Houston. There's a trade show called HughesTech, and next week I'm going to San Francisco, and we're gonna spend some time at Pier 9, which is a pretty cool place that we have in San Francisco. And I'm definitely gonna bring the camera and try to shoot some stuff there. But so it's been a little while since I did my last live stream. But like I said, I'm gonna try to do a couple this week. So I actually have kind of like lined up some different topics. But as I was traveling last week, I posted a couple of things to Instagram that kind of got some people to kind of ask if this would be available on the live stream. So let me just switch over to Fusion here. So you should be able to see that. And I can see that we have a couple of people jumping in here. So, hey, awesome guys. Thank you for jumping in. So this part here, I posted that one last week on Instagram. And what I did was I kind of like created a little video where I kind of like played through how I had built this part. And some people asked if I possibly would go through and kind of like show how I created this part. And I thought, hey, why not? When I created this part originally, I never really thought that I was going to share it with anybody. But hey, why not? And I actually did put in the link description underneath the link for this part, so you can go and get it yourself. I'm not sure if that shows up in the stream, but then it will definitely do after when this is up on YouTube, because this is being recorded and thrown up there. So like I said, I played kind of like through with the play button down here on Instagram. Now, so what I wanted to do was I wanted to go through this part here and show you how I modeled this part up. Now, what might be fun about that, at least maybe to me, is that when I did this part, I never considered that I was going to share it with anybody. This was actually a part that was done kind of like for a marketing image for Fusion 360. I was going to create some marketing images for some mill turn, and that was where I used this part. And I just thought it was kind of like a cool part. So I can actually show you the image that I kind of created from this part here. So I kind of like had some different tools pointing in on the part. Nothing, crazy. But so the part itself doesn't do anything. But I thought it was a cool looking part. And from the perspective of people on Instagram asking if we can go through how I modeled it up, I would love to show you, especially because, when you're modeling things up, I don't always model things up perfectly either. So also, now that we got a bunch of people in here, any questions or comments you have, just put them in the comment area, and I'll check those in the end. And definitely, I'm willing to try to answer as much as I can. I'm probably not gonna go into like crazy demos, but definitely anything that you might have coming up. So I can see that John was there. John is in here, and we got Sasha. I think you pronounce your name. Mr. Zimmer is in here, so that's awesome. All right, so let's look at this part here. And let me just kind of like go through how I modeled up. So like I said, this was really just, I looked around on Google images for some cool mill turn images, and I kind of like combined this part out of from that. So it's not really, like I said, something specifically functional, but I think it could be interesting to see how I modeled it up. So let's go back to the beginning here. So of course, like everything else, it starts with a sketch. Now the sketch of course hidden right now, so I'm gonna turn that on. And what I did was I used a revolved sketch, and I'm kind of happy as I opened this up that I actually did fully define the sketch, because sometimes I do have bad practices also. But anything that is round is great for revolve. So I know some of you guys, we have people here who are different levels. Some of you guys are like, oh yeah, I know revolve is great. Other people are like, what the heck do you really mean when revolve? So I don't want to make this live stream too long, but I felt like this is maybe one of the things that is kind of like interesting to show. So what you do is you kind of like sketch up on a plane, on one of your planes, this kind of shape, and then you can revolve around an axis. So in this case, I revolve around this axis here, and that kind of like gives me that beginning shape here. Okay. To be honest with you, my first incident with revolve was actually when I used to work at a SolidWorks reseller. I got a phone call from a customer who asked, how will you model up a lens, like for a pair of glasses? And I come from a manufacturing background, and I was a little puzzled about that. And I went in and I asked some of the other AEs, like, how the heck will you do? Would you do something like a lens? And his tip was that pretty much anything that is round, you will use revolve. So let's just jump in here, and let me just take the 2 seconds and show you what I mean. So if I go in here and open up a new design, so we're inside of a brand new design, and some of you guys know that I like to turn on the origin. So let's start a sketch. And it really, in this regard, it doesn't really matter what sketch I'm selecting. So I'm going to select this one right here. I'm going to right click, create sketch. And I'm just going to sketch up this profile for this lens, just so you can kind of like see it. Now I'm going to start creating a construction line. So I'm going to hit the L key for line. And I'm just going to sketch a line up here. And I'm going to make it 2 inches tall. This, again, doesn't really matter here. Now, one of the things, you'll see that the line is actually blue, which means that it doesn't have a relationship to it. Always got to add those relationships. So I'm going to add a horizontal relationship to this line. And to make it into a construction line, you can select the line and you can either click over here, construction, or you can hit the X key. That's just one I remember, so I do that. Let's create another line. So I'm just going to create a line out here in space. I'm going to make this one a 1/2 inch long. And I really like to sometimes sketch outside space and then bring things in. So I want this line to be aligned on the midpoint here. So I'm going to use the midpoint constraint over here, select the line, and then select this point here, and you will see that one come over. Now again, see how it's in an angle? It's still blue in here. We want to fully define it, so I'm going to make that one horizontal right there. Cool. All right, now we're going to create a couple of arcs. So I'm going to go up here to the sketch, and I'm going to create a 3-point arc. I'm going to make sure that the arc starts on that little line segment, the first entity. And the other one I'm going to make sure is down here on this line down here. So I'm just going to place it. And the last point that kind of defines the arc, I'm just going to place that out in space. Doesn't really care too much about that. So now with that, I can start creating some constraints and things. So I'm going to make sure that, that the horizontal relationship between this point and this point is there. So that has a horizontal relationship. And if you ever wonder what is left, grabbing items is normally a pretty good start. So I can see here that this point can move back and forth here. So let me add a dimension. I hit the D key, D for Dennis. Right. So I'm just going to sketch this. I'm going to make it 750. And what else do we need? Well, it looks like that we might need some kind of a dimension here. So let me hit a D for dimension. And just going to place this one here. And I'm just going to like something like that. And you can see that the thing gets fully defined. Now, this is part of the profile. You will see in a second what I'm talking about, what this profile is here. So I'm going to create another one, but I'm actually going to mirror the other one because I can. So going to sketch, and this is a mirror of the sketch. I'm going to select the mirror command. I'm going to select that arc there and go over here and say, what do you want to mirror about? I'm going to select that construction line, and then I have that one there. The last thing I have to do is close the sketch off. So I'm going to hit the line key and close this one off. Now again, this is being recorded, so if you want to see this later on, you absolutely can, right? So don't worry about that, guys. But what I have now is kind of like an enclosed area right here. And honestly, I'm not quite sure why these lines turn blue again, but I'm not going to worry about that right now. This is all I need for the revolve. So I'm going to go up here to create, and I'm going to select the revolve. And then I'm going to select the profile is going to be that kind of tent profile we just drew up. And the X is going to be that center line right there. And if I hit OK, you will see that we kind of created that lens, if you want to say so. Maybe not as a perfect lens. But anyways, that is kind of like, that is how I kind of like learned to use the revolve. So every time somebody says revolve, that's kind of like what I am thinking about in my head is a lens. So just a good thing to have in mind, I think, when it comes to doing this kind of stuff. I'm going to check and say hi to you guys in just a second. I just want to move on here. Let's move on with the part here. So that was the revolve. We're about 10 minutes in, so I'm good. Let's go ahead here and see what I did next. So next, we created another sketch. And this is a pretty simple sketch, actually. Well, it's actually maybe easier to show what I created with it first. So what this part was, whoops, that's like one bit, just like, was this kind of cutout on the part here. This kind of cutout. So what I did was I just literally created a sketch right of that face, and I kind of I projected, actually you can see that this is kind of like purple, that means projected. So if I go normal 2, I kind of projected an edge out, and then I created another arc that was tangent with the inner circle here. So that just creates kind of a little cutout. Let's hide the sketches and move forward. So that's kind of just extrude from that face into there. Nothing too fancy. Then I used another command, the revolve commands. Again, some of you guys might be familiar with the revolve command. But what it does is, the pattern, not revolve. Not the revolve, that's wrong. Circular pattern command. That's what that one little one is down there. So we literally pattern that one feature around something. So let me just move back once. So now we just have our one instance there, and let me create that. So it's under the create command, and you will see down here you have pattern, and here you can do circular pattern. So I'm going to click on that, and you actually have some different options in here what you can select. So you can select faces, bodies, or feature. I would probably select feature here because that is actually what we created, was this extrude feature down here. So we can select that feature, and then we can select an axis for that to rotate around. And I think we can actually select the circular edge too, like this. Or maybe we can't. 3 equal. Oh, it's always good when I screw up here, right? It doesn't show. Ha 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 ha. We have 3 of them in there. Oh, it just doesn't show in the preview. Okay. That's okay. So it doesn't show in the preview. So I have 3 of them. You don't see them in preview. Hit OK. And there you will see that I now get those 3. Maybe it doesn't show in preview because I have this recording software. I'm not sure. That's something to test afterwards. So I revolve those 3 features around there. So everything to this point is pretty smooth sailing. Then I thought I would kind of like have this cut through going through here. So I'm kind of like breaking up the opening. And actually all I did there was I started a circle on the back and just extruded it down the bottom. So if you look at the sketch was literally just sitting right down here, that sketch, and then I just did a standard press pull with the Q command and literally just cut down till I was, down to whatever depth I wanted down there. Nothing fancy with that. Now, the next thing I wanted to show you here is I turned on planes. So some of you guys have maybe heard me talk about this before. There's a couple of things I think that you should spend a couple of minutes on if you are new into Fusion. And normally, it's 10 minutes to lunch break and you don't really know what to work on. You can't go to lunch early because the guy in the cubicle next to you will, complain that you go to lunch early. Then there's a couple of things you should spend some time on checking out. So one of the ones is up here with the different construction options you have in this drop down here. You have a bunch of options in here, and I think it's worth just spending like 5 minutes going through in here and get familiar with some of these. So the one I used, and you see we have a construction folder here, is one that creates a plane tangent to a face. Because you got to remember that you can only sketch on either a plane or a face. And if you don't have a good face to sketch on, then you have to create your own plane. So if you go up here to the drop down, the one I'm using is called tangent planes. When you select that, you just select the face. And when you select that face, you will automatically get a plane that is tangent to that. And then you can move it around, drag it around. You can create a relationship with other things. What that plane does, right here, that plane right there, it gives me an opportunity to sketch a circle. So now I actually have a circle that I just sketched here, and I just created a center line again, as you can see, and sketched a circle. So that circle is sitting on that plane. I hope this shows up good for you. With that, I just blasted a hole right through there. So I just did another kind of like press pull and just created a hole into that opening we already have. I hope I don't make anybody seasick. And then I revolve that, just like, what I keep on saying revolve, I pattern that, a circle and pattern that. I'm going to have to ask the guys to change names around because apparently when I say revolve, I actually mean pattern. So a circular pattern those holes around, right? So now the part kind of like stops taking shape. Then I created another plane up on the bigger tapered up here. Same way as you just saw before, going up to construction, tangent plane, select the face, and control what angle I had it in. And I actually think I had it like in 0 degrees. Sorry. All right. And again, if you down in the description, you should have a link to this. Definitely when the video gets posted to YouTube, and then you can get this model. And this is the same one that I'm working on right here. Now on this one, I sketched up this profile looking like that on that plane. Okay, so it's kind of like a slot kind of banana shape kind of thing here. And then I did something, and this is one of the things I want to show you. What I did with this one was I actually extruded it the other way up. And I did it as its own body. So what that means is that I grabbed that sketch, so let me go into edit this feature, and I just did a standard press pull, but instead of hitting, if you hit like something like join or cut, it will be part of this, the golden body we see. But because I say I'm creating a new body and extruded this away from it, what I end up with is actually up in the body folder, 2 bodies now. So there's one body that is our main one, but then there's another body that is kind of like that little part here. And when I had done that, I actually went in and I isolated this one just like you see here by hiding the one body so I can kind of like work with it. And then I created another plane in here. And the way I created this plane was, if you look up in the construction, there is actually, you can create a plane through 3 points. I hope that this is not getting too confusing for you. But literally what I did with this was I literally selected those 3 points right there to create a plane that now kind of like intersects. And again, take a look at the model and you can kind of like digest it yourself. On that plane, I sketched a half moon shape. Okay? So that is just like a line and then the arc on top of there. I can probably hide that plane right now. Then I used a command called sweep. Now sweeps are pretty cool, and what you can see it kind of like created was it kind of like created a bubble on that face there. So let me just move back once and I'll go through that. So when you go up and you create, so before we created the revolve, right? Anything round. Sweep is a little bit different. Sweep is great for piping actually. If you ever look at piping or something like that, sweeps are great. What sweep does is it has a profile and then it has a path that it follows along. Let's probably turn my webcam on so you can see what a profile and a path. So you kind of like have a profile and then you have a path, and that profile will follow the path. Okay. Now, what is actually pretty neat about what happens inside of Fusion is that when you do a sweep like this, it's actually smart enough to close off the ends. And I'm pretty sure that other software I have worked with in the past couldn't do this. It was kind of a pain in the neck. So I go in here and I say sweep. And whenever you're working with these menus, just start from the top and work your way down. So you actually can select different options in here. So one of them, you can create guide rails and things like that. Gets a little bit more advanced. We're not going to worry about that right now. So the profile is that half moon right there. And then the path, I'm just going to select the edge of our part here. And the way that Fusion does this is actually pretty nice. It kind of, like I said, create a closed kind of like top of this. Now, why I want this is because what I'm trying to do with this is, if I turn my main body back on here, is I'm trying to use a tool called combine. So what I can do is I can subtract this from this. It's almost like if you use a stamping tool in there. So let me just show you what I mean. If I move forward here, you see how it's almost like it's leaving an imprint inside of here. Okay, so let me show you the combine tool. I hope this is not getting too advanced for you and not, too boring either. So if you go into, I think it's under the modify here, and here's the combine. Now the combine can actually do a bunch of different things. So maybe this would be a good live stream another day. But what you can do is you can select your target body, what in our case will be the golden part. The tool body, what is like the tool we're stamping with here. So we can select that. And we can choose some different options in here, what we want to do. In this case here, we're going to cut with it. And you can also choose actually to keep the tool, but we're not going to do that from right here. And when I hit OK, I kind of get that imprint. This is a pretty cool function in there. So I did that, okay, and then I patterned that around. Not revolve, but patterned. All right. That is really the main part I think I really want to show you. Everything else from this point on this part was actually just me kind of like, I don't know if I want to say I make mistakes, but I realized a couple of things. So I realized that the part was not long enough, so I extruded it a little bit longer. Now, and this is actually pretty neat, I think. This is worth showing you. So here's this part here. Now, I want to make it a little bit longer. One of the things that you might be thinking about right now is, well, if we're going to make it a little bit longer, we're going to create a sketch, and then we're going to extrude that. Or we could also go back to the first part, the revolve, and make that a little bit longer. That might actually be the right way to do this, but like I said, I wasn't really planning on sharing this model, and sometimes I'm lazy when it comes to CAD and CAM. So let me show you what I did. Actually, all I did is if you hit the Q, so the standard press pull, you can select a face, and that's actually all you need to do to change a part like this. And what happens is that Fusion puts it down here as an offset face. So sometimes if you just got to offset a face, you don't really need all the time sketches. You can just hit the press pull, select the face, and now you're offsetting that face. So that's a pretty cool function. It actually also works on diameters too, I believe. So I can actually change this here. It could be a little dangerous. That's a quick fix on things. So I did that. And then I realized that I actually also wanted to add some a thread on top of this part. So I think I extended a little bit out diameter wise. So I just created a sketch here. Let's look at this sketch. On that back side and a circle. And then I extruded that back a little bit. Then I moved on and I sketched another circle here and extruded a little bit more material back here. So this is kind of like me modeling a little bit on the fly when I did this. I was kind of like just changing my mind up a little bit. And then the last thing I used was the thread function in here. I'll just turn my sketches off here. What absolutely looks beautiful, I think, inside of Fusion. That thread function is right underneath create there. And it's a really nice function too. So that's how I really modeled up this part. Now, like I said before, you should be able to get a hold of the link here and kind of like see all the different steps I went through. So that was about 25 minutes of me yapping. Let me just go in here quickly and see. Wow, I got some good questions. People are joining in. You guys, I'm so grateful that you guys are taking the time to join me in on these. It means a ton to me. You know, this is I think this is better than webinars, right? It's live right here, ready to answer some of your questions. And, you know, we got people from all over. We got people from Sweden. And we got people from the UK, Germany, all my European friends here from France. Just really appreciate you guys jumping in here. All right, one quick question here. Not been able to fully specify my sketches or fully constrain them. So this is something that I have made a couple of videos where I struggled with that too. Let me jump back into Fusion here. This is important, and it was a mistake I made on a couple of videos. When you go up and you click on your name, you go into Preferences, make sure you go down to Preview down here and turn on this sketch color or sketch thing, color sketch geometry on constraint status. The preview means that it's kind of like in beta. The development team haven't 100% released it yet. Yes, you need to turn this on to be able to see them fully defined. Absolutely. Again, there was a couple of videos I created. I had it on and I didn't realize it until afterwards. So sorry about that. So hopefully that is helpful. Hello, Spain. Why did it go blue again? That's a good question. I need to look into that, Jan. I don't really know. That is curious. Like I said, when I sketched up that the lens here, you will actually see that I copied it over, and then it became blue again, and I don't really know why. This is maybe why it's in preview. There shouldn't be anything movable at this point because it was actually fully defined right before I mirrored it over. So that is a absolutely great question, and maybe like one of these things that is the reason that it hasn't been become fully in the software yet. So that is definitely something. Hopefully somebody from development looks at. Somebody switched from Rhino. Hey, cool. Thank you for jumping in from Rhino to Fusion. Yeah, so I hope that you have definitely, if you come from Rhino, I hope you have been in and playing a little bit around with the sculpting space up here, where you can do, different sculpting. Oops, I'm not on this. The sculpting area. So let's go in here to sculpting. I hope you played around with that. If you are new to from Rhino, because this is kind of like T-splines and it's pretty cool. Am I Dutch? No, I am Danish. Yeah. Hello. But I've lived over here for like 18 years and can't get rid of the accent. Hawaii, cool. California, I'm coming back to. I'm going to California next week. I'll be in San Francisco, so that's cool. All right, let me just roll down a little bit here. Make sure that there's nobody who's asking any questions I need to answer. Colorado, London, Rochester, New York. Well, I am pretty close to you. Yes, question, how do I spin my part around like I am doing when it's spinning around on the screen? That is a great question. I am cheating when I do that. What I have is I have one of these here. So this is a 3D Connection Space Mouse Pilot. I'm actually thinking about doing a review on this one. I have a couple of other ones. If somebody's interested to see that, my opinion about them, they're pretty cool, and I use them all the time, of course, as you probably maybe have seen when you've seen me spinning my parts around on the screen. But yeah, I was thinking about maybe, because there's some different ones. Some of them are about $100, and then they go all the way up to like, I don't know, $500-600 or something like that. All right. I think we are just about at the end here. Yeah. So hope this was absolutely helpful. I can see there's still some people chatting in. Really absolutely love that you guys are taking the time to join these. Like I said, I'm going to try to do another one later this week because one of the other questions I got was how to do lettering. So like extrude letters, I guess. But then it was followed up by the question, how do you put a curved surface on the letters on top of it? So I thought that would be kind of interesting to show you. You could probably get away with maybe something like a sweep like we did on top of that tool we made that imprint on. But I actually have another tip that I want to show you that I think is pretty cool. So I'm going to try to do that, I think Thursday or Friday. But I will definitely make sure that I schedule one, so you should get an email if you subscribe. With that, guys, really appreciate you guys jumping in here. Happy Tuesday, and this will be recorded, so you can see it later on YouTube if you want to. Like I said, this is not to replace the standard videos that I do, but I'm a little busy right now with some travel, so I hope that this kind of like fills in. Hey guys, until the next time, have an awesome day.